Welcome back, everybody, to This Is My Bourbon podcast. I'm your host, Perry, and with me this week is not my regular co-host because he's sick. And instead, I have one of the hosts of It's Bourbon Night. It's Chad.
One of the sickest kids.
He's so dope. He's so fresh and so clean.
I'm sick, but in the good way.
Sick with 2 C's? Is that cool?
That's thick with 2 C's. I don't know if sick goes that way.
You're also kind of thick with it.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome.
I guess.
I don't know, dude. I'm just saying stuff at this point.
Cool.
Dude, it is, first of all, good to have you on, as always. It reminds me of the early days of Timbip when I was reliant on you and Sarah to just, like, come and fill space when I needed some co-hosts when Curtis and Tanner were not able to fill. And here you are again, filling space when Eric cannot fill.
Just call me a space filler.
I would never call you that because you're more than that. You're
I'm
Chad.
like a seat filler at the Oscars.
That's kind of a dream job, isn't it?
Yeah,
to
you
do
could
minimal
literally
work
rub elbows.
Yeah.
I mean, with famous people, they might be like, "Please stop rubbing my elbows." But
I just got them polished. Please leave me alone. If you want to not leave us alone and you want to check out what we're doing on Patreon, you can do so by heading to patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast for as little as $1 a month. But for as little as $5 a month, you can get bonus content over there, which is including but not limited to bonus episodes that come out every week. This week, Chad and I did Samply Irresistible, where we drink through some samples that have been sent to us by our dear listeners and viewers. And the pregame chats, which come out before every episode. It's a way for us to get warmed up for the main episode. And the uncut and unedited version of the podcast, which comes out a whole day early. So if you're watching this on the Wednesday that it comes out, the uncut, unedited version comes out on Tuesday. So there you go.
boom.
My patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast. That's how it's done. We normally kick off episodes with Flying Blind. We still do Flying Blind after all these years.
Fly like an eagle into
To the sea.
sea.
Yeah, fly
Into
like
the sea.
Fly like an eagle to the sea. Fly
To the
like an
sea,
eagle,
not into the sea. I'm like, why would an eagle want to fly into the sea?
I don't know. Fly, eagle, fly. We're just coming off of the Super Bowl win.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it's the Friday after.
Yeah, it is.
And I think I talked about this. I don't remember. My brother is an Eagles fan.
There you go.
And it was nice to see them win. And sorry for the Chiefs fans, but
Right, but they had the previous 2 years. So
yeah, I'm not too torn up about it or anything.
yeah,
it is what it is.
I mean, both of them had won. I guess it was the Eagles' second Super Bowl.
Second or third?
No, I think second.
I don't remember.
Second recently, maybe. I don't know.
Second recently,
Sorry,
at least.
I
don't know.
Talking to the wrong guy.
I don't do sports too good. So,
but I know it would have been the third Chiefs Super Bowl win in a row,
right?
Had they won,
and I didn't care to see that happen personally.
I didn't really have a dog in the fight, but I was pulling for the Eagles.
Yeah,
for that fact.
Yeah, exactly. And I enjoyed just seeing a good old fashioned beatdown. Personally,
I mean, they're there for a while. It was. I mean,
I
did
said,
come back, but
I said more than once that it was the best worst game I've ever seen. Just really enjoyed it. I know I have Chiefs fans that listen to the show. I'm sorry, but it happens. Anyway, I'll take a glass from you so I can blind you on something.
Oh, okay. Rare character to match
my
look
At
shirt.
that. Chad's repping all over the place.
Yeah, wearing my rare character limited release. What's that called? Llama? It's a llama.
That is a llama, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
llama.
I have to get you to close your eyes, I guess.
Look away. What are you doing? We're shielding our eyes, Lord. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. Don't do that. Monty Python, if anyone was wondering.
I assumed that's where that was coming from.
Yeah.
I have to pour for myself as well.
We're averting our eyes, dear Lord.
All right, you can open your eyes again. I've got it ready for you. Sorry.
Oh, now I am double fisting.
Well, I might have gone a little bit of a Perry pour on you, but
it's pretty poor light.
to be expected, I suppose.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's not my work phone. It's my regular phone.
This is almost a chilled Glencairn just because it's a little
chilly down here.
colder down here.
My office. Oh yeah, we didn't say that we're recording in my office or my new podcast.
How are the
studio
acoustics?
set up? Actually, not terrible.
No, not terrible.
I think it's pretty solid. I've got the the foam things that I need to set up as well.
You know, honestly, just insulation right there.
Yeah.
Would because that's how it is. My place, and it actually does a great job with that.
Yeah. This was when we moved in. I mean, a completely unfinished basement.
Wow.
So
there you go.
we built the wall.
Yeah.
I pay for it though.
Oh God. Okay.
Anyway, let's check out our flying blind pour.
Ooh, that's a good spiciness. I like that.
Interesting. I haven't had this in a while. I'm.
Ooh, that's good. I like that nose.
That's a really interesting nose.
Yeah, I got some a little bit of cherry and some maybe cinnamon or black pepper. I can't really tell you.
Yeah.
I'll be able to tell better once I get it on my palate, but that's an enjoyable nose.
I like it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Whoa. It's high proof.
Oh my goodness.
It is high proof. And pepper. That's what it is.
Right up into my gums.
Yeah, that is some pepper. Black pepper.
That's the jingle for black pepper. If
Pepper.
Black pepper.
Black pepper. Hot Pockets is like,
Yeah,
hey,
that's exactly what it was. You can't use that.
You can't do that.
What if we went monotone? Black pepper.
What if we do black pepper? No, that's by Menon. Oh.
Dadgummit.
Okay.
We can't find a good jingle for black pepper. Why are you advertising black pepper in the first place?
Black pepper. No. You can't. You even you pushed on your stomach.
We watched you do it. We're on a Zoom call.
Yeah, you literally put on a baker's hat and pushed your stomach.
What's it even have to do with black pepper,
Yeah.
man? Come on.
Oof.
All right, give me some thoughts. What do you think? What's
Have we covered black pepper? Okay.
You're crying.
No, I was just I cracked myself up.
Okay.
So no, that's just because I find myself hilarious.
Oh, it's good to have you back on the show, man.
Yeah, tears of damn, I'm funny.
That's a real edgy shirt that you would find at Target or Walmart that you would get for
Damn, I'm
yourself
funny.
in college.
Yeah. Well, it's a little dry. It's not a killer at all, but it's probably that black pepper that's doing that. But there's also I'm trying to find a fruit note that's sort of poking around in there. I want it to be cherry because then I'm like, is this Buffalo Trace or something like?
Right.
And it may be, but I don't think it is. Your caramels in there, of course.
It is very, very caramelly.
Yeah.
Or caramely, however you want to.
I mean, it's almost more like a turkey than a Buffalo Trace now. It's good. I like it. It's high proof.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. What are you getting?
I mean, I know what this is, of course.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Did you also close your eyes?
Yes, I closed my eyes and I poured blindly, and now I'm covered
Eventually,
in whiskey.
you got it into the Glencairn.
I'm also about to light a match, and we're going to see what happens.
Okay.
No, I, strangely enough, get a hint of mint on this.
Hint of mint.
I get a tad bit of this, yes, caramel, but more in the direction of Werther's Original kind of thing. It's a what now?
Black pepper. Sorry. I just thought of another one. Ricola. Go ahead. I'll keep the remaining ones to myself.
He's like, okay, wait a minute.
Wait a minute. Remember 5 minutes ago?
Comes back in with the lederhosen on. Yeah. I got it.
This has never been done before.
Black pepper.
What would you do for some black pepper? All right, we're going to leave that behind. I promise. This is way too early in the episode.
They're like, where did you get the Guitar Center doesn't even have a jingle. How did you find a Guitar Center jingle? No, I really enjoy this. I wanted to pour this for you because you and I have actually reviewed this before.
Oh. That doesn't help.
I know, but we reviewed this. This was the last episode that I did with guests before the pandemic.
Oh, okay. I was like, there's no way this is the Knob Creek rye that we did
last
time.
Not at all, but it is a Jim Beam product.
Oh.
Jim Beam single barrel.
Oh, man.
But it doesn't read like a Jim Beam product.
Yeah, I was...
At all.
Well, I think I landed more on turkey as it settled in, but...
Yeah.
Dang. 108, right?
108 proof. I don't know if these are age stated.
No.
But I think roughly, because it runs in that same kind of realm of the distiller's cut and stuff like that. So I think it's kind of around 6 years old from what I remember.
No. This isn't the bottle, is it?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't know if that bottle is. I don't think I have that bottle anymore.
I wouldn't think so.
Because that was nigh on 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Actually, that might have been almost exactly 5 years ago, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Because that was, I mean, we are in February 25.
Yeah.
And that was February 2020, which is a crazy thing to
If only we knew what was getting ready to happen.
Well, I think, you know what's crazy is I had just found out 5 years ago today that I was having my first kid.
She's having a baby.
She's having a baby.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Little bouncing baby girl.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's wild. Man, times have changed a lot. But that was a weird episode too, because I coupled it with interviewing Fred.
Which Fred?
Minnick.
Okay. I was like, Freddie Johnson, Fred.
Yeah, fair enough. Fred Minnick.
Okay.
And I paired it up with you and me reviewing this bottle.
Oh, wow.
I don't know why.
Okay.
I was swinging for the fences back then.
You're like, I don't know if this Fred Minnick episode has enough content. We really need to hook people. Let's get Chad from It's Bourbon Night on, and we're also going to review a
Jim
new Beam single barrel.
But you when I pulled this out, you didn't know about it. Like, it was so brand new that it wasn't even on your radar.
Correct. Yes.
Which I don't know if I could ever surprise you with something like that nowadays.
I'm sure you could.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, really good. It doesn't have the like classic Jim Beam profile to it, and I kind of remember when we reviewed it too. That there was more of a like Jim Beam-iness to it back then, but not present at all here. But
it is a single barrel.
That's true.
We could bring in 3 other bottles and they all taste different.
100%.
Yeah.
What have you been drinking recently?
Oh, well, I have to go back to the latest episode. Well, not the latest episode, latest review episode, which was the Heaven Hill 19, which I know you did.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. Really surprised. I was kind of not wisely, but I was kind of lumping it in with the 20-year corn since it wasn't a tried and true bourbon. I'm like, yeah, I'm probably not going to love this one, but man, was I wrong.
I was so incredibly impressed with that whiskey.
Yeah. Just wow.
Yeah.
Whew. Yeah.
I still, and Eric said it, have this immediate feeling of like, this could be a top 10 contender for the year.
For sure. And it's almost a little unfortunate that you can't say best bourbon of the year because it's whiskey.
I know.
But you just move around those points about 14 in the other direction and it is a bourbon.
Exactly.
Technically it isn't, but it's from a celebrated bourbon distillery.
Yeah.
So, top 10 American whiskeys of the year.
Also, shout out to our buddy Adam Edwards, who just moved from Heaven's Door to Heaven Hill.
Gotta have a heaven in it.
Floating around
That's
in
the
heaven.
deal.
Well, he was originally in a hole that was dug by a rabbit.
Oh. You mean hell?
Yeah.
He's like, I need to go to heaven.
He got the God call and went through the door, and now he's on the hill.
Should have taken that right turn at Albuquerque. Another rabbit in a hole said that.
But yeah, I'm super proud of him. He's like the lead brand ambassador for the East Coast now.
Oh, yes.
Awesome. But anyway, yeah, sorry I interrupted you. That
No, it's done.
19-year wheat whiskey. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, for me personally, not really anything too out of the ordinary. We went to my folks' house the other day for finally so Lucy's birthday is at the end of January, and here we are in the middle of February, and we were able to have a little birthday celebration for her the other day. And I was like, you know what I'm going to do is have a little tasting for my dad. So I took 3 different bottles and stepped it up. And I started with a 10-year OBSO Four Roses pick, which is incredibly low proof for Four Roses. It was 106 proof. I mean, normally they're like 110, 115.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
Went next with the Calumet 15, and then actually finished up with the 19-year wheat from Heaven Hill. And it's so rare anyway to have that opportunity to side by side hyper aged whiskeys. But in that context too, I mean, I had this vision a few years ago when we started getting media samples of like, I'm going to have this whole shelf of just media samples, and it's going to be really cool to like, collect it all. And then I started thinking about like, it's so much more fun to like give other people the chance to try the things that we've been sent. 'Cause like, I don't have any investment in it. I was sent it for free. And like, how often are other people getting to try 19-year-old whiskey? In the words of somebody else, it's not every day you get to have a 19-year-old, But anyway, it was just a fun little experience.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
I mean, stepping up almost 5 years every whiskey. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, also, Calumet 15, I reviewed on my live stream last night. I maintain it is one of the most underrated and overlooked whiskeys on the shelf right now.
I can't remember how we felt between 15 and 16, which one we liked better. Part of me wants to say it was a 16, and then another part's like, no, it was a 15.
I mean, completely fair. I probably would have gone with
I do remember having an opinion between the two of them, but now I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, I would have to do them side by side. The 15-year was actually a Christmas gift, which
Nice.
was
That's a good gift. Yeah.
very nice.
Mhm.
But yeah, I need to pick up a bottle of the 16-year. I wanted to. We're not doing a review this episode. I wanted to spend some time chatting with you about a couple of topics. The first one is the more lighthearted of it all. Okay. But Eric and I put out an episode a few months ago about the phenomenon of bourbon hunting as content in the YouTube space.
Sure.
And I don't want to go like super in depth about this because he and I already kind of did this, but it has become so like commodified as a video that I think it's pretty transparent for people who, I hate this phrase, but have eyes to see that it can, a lot of it is bought and sold, you know, and there are people who have said as much too, right? But when we put that episode out, you texted me and said, hey, if you want a different perspective on this, I'd love to come on and talk about it. And so I wanted to, like, first of all, give you the chance to talk about your space with bourbon hunting as content, because I do also think that you and Sarah give bourbon hunting as content a much more authentic take when it comes to your videos.
Yeah. Well, I should have gone back and listened to the episode again to refresh myself on it.
A lot of it was, and I tried my best, and I still maintain this, that it's not all bad. Like, there is still like a, you know, hey, you might not have seen this brand before. This is cool. I don't know anything about it. I'd be curious to learn more about it. Mm-hmm. But there was also a lot of like, hey, I've never seen this in the wild. You know, what's this price like? Let me know in the comments. Oh, I've never seen this before. And, you know, this is a great price, but then they wind up not picking it up for that price, even though it's like below retail or, you know, on sale or at retail. And it's like, what are you do? You know,
well,
if it's like
that I can't explain past everyone has their own bourbon budget. And,
sure.
You know, maybe they've already got a bottle at home and they don't need another one. You know, who knows? But I do remember Eric saying, everyone's just saying out in the wild. I've never seen it out in the wild, out in the wild. I do remember that now. That's come back to me. Well, you know, let me just first talk about why I personally think the genre, or whatever you want to call it, of bourbon hunting videos has caught on and is doing so well. Part of me thinks a little bit of it's a voyeuristic take. Like, some people are just curious what other states have available. It's a curiosity thing. For what prices, you know, that type of thing. And it's a little bit of a scavenger hunt type of feeling. Like, will they find something good? Will they not? What will they find? So I think that's why they've become popular. We started our first one, I think, was in 2018. And it wasn't in the format that we do it now.
It was when you all went to New Orleans?
Chicago.
Right? Chicago.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was more of a, I guess you would call it more of a haul video, because we talked about things on a live stream after we had already picked them up.
Right.
But we called it
I remember that.
Bourbon Hunting in Chicago.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until, I don't know, maybe 21, maybe 22. I'm not sure when it was, but I remember in the podcast you talked about the Mr. Beastification of things.
Yes.
And it's funny because we stumbled into bourbon hunting because of a very specific idea or goal that I had. Because I've got this buddy who watches YouTube, and he's actually the one who told me about Mr. Beast forever ago. And I'm like, what, Mr. Beast? And he was like, I'm telling you, man, these videos pop off. Like, he's a numbers guy. He's like,
they do.
He gets 3 million in an hour or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So I consume content on YouTube about cameras, lenses, audio equipment, lighting, and YouTube itself. That's sort of what I consume on YouTube. So I'd watched videos about Mr. Beast and about thumbnails and about da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I had just watched one where it talked specifically about thumbnails and how, you know, you basically want to use 95% of the real estate in the thumbnail. You don't want to have any dead space, and you want things to pop, and you want this to be in the forefront, and da-da-da-da-da. So I said, I want to make a video with the thumbnail in mind first, which really you should be doing always. The title and the thumbnail ideally would come before you start even turning the camera on, but that it doesn't always happen the way, at least.
Sure, yeah, of course.
At least not for us. So I was like, Sarah, I want to do a video where you're holding up $1,000. You got 10 $100 bills fanned out in your hand, and they're upper left corner of the thumbnail, and I'll I'll do the green outline around them, and then I'll be in the background, and I'm gonna be holding all these bottles, and it's gonna be, what will $1,000 get you in allocated whiskey? And I'm like, that's a Mr. Beast thumbnail.
Yeah, that's
a Mr. Beast title. So we did it. We didn't even call it bourbon hunting in Lexington, because that's where we hunted. It was just, what, $1,000 will get you an allocated whiskey. And I'm like, I think this would do well. That's punchy. It will grab your attention, and it did do well. I'm like, oh, cool. And then so we're like, we should do another bourbon hunt, and that's how we got into it. And I don't know if we were sort of the ones who kind of started it, because I'm aware of WhiskeyTube, but I don't watch WhiskeyTube. And I do that so I don't unintentionally copy other people's stuff or get influenced by their reviews or, start doing their mannerisms. Like,
I think that's the biggest, or maybe the worst kept secret in all of WhiskeyTube or whiskey podcasting, that none of us really listen to or watch each other's stuff. And it's because, we don't want to go and watch, Jason's review of Russell's 15 and then parrot every single thing that he says.
Exactly.
It's to kind of if it's an interview, that's one thing, because that's independent content of when we, crack a new bottle. But it's so hard to go and watch the same thing over and over and over again.
So I don't and also I get enough bourbon in my day job. I get enough bourbon doing its bourbon night.
Yeah.
So when I turn on YouTube, like I said, I'm watching a camera review or a lens or a light or entertainment, movies or pop culture or whatever. I don't watch WhiskeyTube. I'm aware of it. I'm subscribed to pretty much everybody.
Oh yeah.
So I see their videos come up with a title and thumbnail, but I'm like, Jason beat me to that review again or whatever.
Again,
he gets a bottle and he's like, next day or 10 minutes later. I don't know.
It's the operative word there though.
It's just out there, and and that is a strategy if we want to get more into talking about WhiskeyTube in general. That is a strategy, being first to review, but it also doesn't always matter. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It kind of completely depends on what the bottle is, honestly. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But anyway, so I don't watch WhiskeyTube, so I don't know if we were, but I think we were, at least I would say we were some of the first people doing bourbon hunting videos. I think that's safe to say, because then we saw the tsunami, and everyone was doing it, and they were doing it back-to-back videos about it.
Yeah.
So pretty quickly, Sarah and I adopted a rule, no more than one a month, because we're pretty certain people are going to get burnt out on hunting videos, but at least we could control if we're part of the reason why people get burnt out on them or not. So one a month, no more. After we started doing the normal places that make sense, hunting in Bardstown, hunting in Louisville, hunting in, big places like that, hunting at the Bourbon Festival, they were like, we got to switch it up. So that's when we came up with the challenge series thing where we spin the wheel. We put a quarter into our gumball machine and it spits out a thing. The piece of paper says the bottle, that's now our mission. Then we spin the wheel to get the wheel of terms and conditions to get another challenge, only in your hometown, only out of town. You have half the amount of time. You must buy it for 2 times retail if you find it, challenges. So at least then we can modify it a little bit to have it's a little different. We're standing out from some of the other ones, and then also makes it fun.
Yeah.
Also made us have to buy a 1792 12-year for $150. We had to pay for that. But we spun the thing.
That's an $80 retail bottle or something like that.
Yeah. But man. We didn't want to lose because we'd lost. I think the last episode we lost. We weren't able to find a Midwinter's Night's Dram or however it's pronounced.
Sure.
In off season, basically.
Yeah.
But that's what we spun. So yeah, we like doing them. How much longer can they go? Because they do get a little repetitive. I mean, hopefully we can figure out a new way to keep it interesting. But yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot out there now.
And I mean, like, for some channels, that's their whole thing too. That's the only content that they put out. And talking about getting burnt out, it's like, how far can you push that? What's the end of the envelope, I guess?
Well, I learned a little bit about it on your all's episode talking about it because you had Eric watch, what was it, 5 or 10?
I had a whole like playlist for
Right.
him to review, and just his immediate burnout with it, as he was like, I just don't get it, like, and I think that for us at least, there's two sides of this coin as far as like we're concerned. One is the fact that we are content creators as is. So we're not looking for that voyeuristic side of it where, we're part of it in some capacity. We're not trying to like see what's out there, and we're kind of regularly going to the stores anyway. The other side too is that like we're already regularly like experiencing so many of these like ups and downs of like going to the store and like, I'm some of these, because we know how the market is in Lexington anyway. Like it's not this mecca of like you come here and you find all the Buffalo Trace products on the shelf, or you find every Master's Keep from years past, and it's at retail, retail from 2016. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which, and I don't think that that trope is as common as it used to be. I think that's kind of an outdated thing now. I think that people are much more outspoken about that. But at the same time, like we just like, we have a much more, or at least we a little bit more level-headed mindset about it, where we're not like, oh, we don't need this feeling of what's going on in the bourbon world. And I think too, to that point, if we're going to seek out the information of what's going on in the bourbon world, it's less of like what's on the shelf, and it's more of what's happening in the industry. But that's a personal thing, I guess.
I think that would interest more of us than I think your average bourbon drinker, because they're first and foremost a consumer and less of a participant, if that makes sense.
And this kind of goes back to something that Kenny said when we had him at our live show last year too, that for the people who are watching bourbon YouTube or listening to bourbon podcasts, they are in the like nerdiest of the nerdy bourbon consumers, right? They want to know the most about everything. And you're not just the guy who's going and getting Kentucky Gentleman handles and, next Friday you're getting another, and, the cycle repeats itself.
Yeah, you're in the minority.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And, but at the same time, I think that, the Venn diagram, it's not two separate circles. I think that there is a pretty slim overlap, at least, of the people who are like, I am very curious about this, but I'm not curious enough to do my own research. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like, I want to watch a YouTube video about this. I don't want to go and read a lot of like articles. Like I know what Pappy is.
Yes. I need it digestible and quick.
Yeah. So this kind of leads into part of what we were talking about on the pregame chats too, which is another thing that I wanted to talk about with you as well. And it's not just, wow, that is not the way I wanted to put that question.
Take two.
Well, I was about to say, do bourbon influencers still matter? Which is completely self-serving and not at all what I meant by that at all, by any means. What I really meant was like, is there still a space for like these kind of what we're doing right now, having like more long form conversations about the state of the bourbon industry, which I also want to ask you about. Like, how do you feel about the state of bourbon, not just as like the industry, but also, community wise as well? Because I feel like, and I'm not going to lead, I don't want to
lead the witness.
I don't want to lead you at all into an answer, but I do feel like there's been a pretty significant shift over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
So let's start with like our space as creators.
Okay, more in the question you asked about influencers specifically.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to repeat myself too much.
Yeah.
From the
So
Patreon.
Go and listen on the Patreon, patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast.
Yeah,
but also like
for those who aren't able to hear it on Patreon, I basically said I do think bourbon whiskey influencers don't matter as much as maybe they once did, only because I think all influencers don't. And that's just because of the sheer numbers of influencers. Pick any genre you want to, and you can find an influencer in the space. I mean, it's just, we're so niched down, however you want to say it, so granular that they're everywhere. And I think when you're flooded with something, you become hyper aware of it and you become annoyed with it. So I think, yes, for that fact, not alone, but for that fact, among others, not as much as they used to matter. Are we talking about everything as a whole right now, or did you want us to? It's a broad topic.
It is, and let's take it in a couple of different strides.
Okay.
Let's talk about. Let's start off with the production right now of whiskey, because I think it's pretty inarguable that there is a bit of a glut happening in terms of production. That what we were anticipating 5-10 years ago was that the boom was going to maintain itself at the same capacity, and people were going to continue to buy whiskey. And so that distilleries were going to have to keep producing, and they were going to have to expand to maintain that production.
Sure. Well, I think it's...
And there were also going to have to be new distilleries popping up to maintain some of that, demand for it as well.
Right. Well, I think it depends on from what lens you want to look through it, or from whose viewpoint. From an average consumer, I think it's a good thing, because that means hopefully there'll be some price reduction on some things. Availability will become better, and I think it'll be an adjustment. It'll take a little bit of a while, but there'll be an adjustment from the distilleries if we stay in this glut where, okay, we don't need to put out as many bottles of, I'm looking at Henry McKenna, so I'm going to say Henry McKenna 10-year, so we can hold more barrels back and let them age more. And quality, if they're now blending older things into the bottles of Henry McKenna that come out in a couple years or maybe even next year, quality may start, because there's been a lot of people say Henry McKenna just isn't what it used to be, type of thing. And we have to remember, 10-year, that's the minimum age. So there can be 11, there can be some 12. We've heard this with Elisha Craig Barrel Proof. Definitely heard about Elisha Craig Barrel Proof.
Yeah, of course.
So the adjustment of the market, okay, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's not put out as many bottles. Let's allow some things to age longer. It'll be an adjustment. And with the regaining of maybe some quality, it may start fixing itself. Now, there's way too many other factors in there. The economy, other things about
tariffs.
People holding on to their money or not. That type of thing that is sort of a little bit of an X factor right now. But let's just say things sort of stay status quo in that department, just for sake of argument. The adjustment from the distilleries of holding things back, not putting out as many bottles, could be some people noticing a return to quality, and then it sort of fixes itself.
Right.
And people are once again just as in love with bourbon as they were 2 years ago or 5 years ago, whatever it is. So for the average consumer, I think it's a good thing. I don't know who's not the average consumer. For your craft distilleries that have just popped up, not a good thing.
Sure.
Not
Thing. Absolutely.
Not a good
Definitely.
thing at all.
Yeah.
But also, so a bad thing for them. A bad thing. Not a good time to be coming out with a new distillery or a new product. But people like, I'm going to use Pursuit United as an example. They've been out for a while. They have their fan base. People buy that for a specific reason. They choose that over, Jim Beam single barrel or whatever. They don't have a crazy amount of stuff out there. So it might not sell as well, but that means they can push it into other regions where it hasn't been available. They can sort of spread it out and satiate the needs of the people who didn't have it. I think they're going to be just fine.
Sure.
Because they're that niche. Still don't know which one to say.
Somebody's going to call you out one way or another.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Both.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like when we couldn't decide whether it was Basil or Basil Hayden.
Oh, well.
That was a fun era.
I think it's Basil, but Jim Beam wants you to say Basil. Because who's named Basil?
I don't care.
But
man.
people call it Basil. So
right.
Like, you better call it Basil. Not us, but people who work at Jim Beam.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I just say what's most comfortable.
Yeah. It's hard to say Basil Hayden's, which it technically is. It's Hayden's, like it's his bourbon. It's Hayden's bourbon.
It is Hayden's.
Yeah, but to say Basil Hayden's,
I got to change it up again.
Just sounds. You want to say Basil
Hayden's.
Or Basil Hayden. You want to say Basil Hayden. You don't say Old Granddad's. That's because it's not Old Granddad's. It's Old Granddad. Yeah, so it's
Old Granddad 140. But I say Old Granddad.
Yeah, that's right. Because it's not Old Granddad's, but it is Basil Hayden's.
Basil Hayden.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, we were talking about the state of.
I'm having a panic attack.
State of the world. So I think it's good and bad, depending on who you are.
So you see it from both sides.
Well, I see it from different people's, from a certain point.
So
of view.
So there was a poll that Breaking Bourbon put out about a month ago, I think, that asked, what is the greatest issue that the consumer is facing right now? And it was like, availability, price, production, stuff like that. And other, I think, was the fourth option.
Other. And
I think I put other, and then I commented, and I was like, right now, it's availability, and I meant just the fact that there is so much. But in a few months, it's going to be the price. I think that truly we're just going to see such an increase in price that it's going to be crippling for some people who are bourbon fans, bourbon enthusiasts, bourbon consumers. And I mean, following what's happening with the market and the market at large, I think it's a concerning time for people, and I worry for what's going to happen with this space, not just for, people who are buying whiskey, but also for us as like creators, because how do we navigate that space? When a handle of Jim Beam goes from $25, $30 to $50, and we're like,
well, it will adjust because you'll have the people who were spending 70, 80 on whatever is 70 or 80 to looking at that Jim Beam and trying it for the first time since college.
Sure.
And then hopefully, knock on wood, realizing like, hey, this isn't, I don't have the same palate as I did in college. This doesn't taste like it did in college. This is
right.
This is pretty good. So they may cut a few bucks out of their bourbon budget and have to I'm using air quotes, step down in quality to something else. But hopefully they're still going to be drinking bourbon. So is it those upper end ones that take a hit? Or are there those people who they're rich now, they're going to be rich then. They don't care if it goes up 40, 50 bucks.
It's that part. And there's a larger conversation to be had about how inflation happens and has historically happened in this country that I'm not prepared to talk about or have on a podcast about bourbon. Because there are historical cases of production that when tariffs have been implemented where prices have increased just to try to encourage American
purchasing.
American purchasing when it's just not actually done anything. And not to say that the way that that bourbon will be affected is so unique because bourbon is only able to be made in America, of course, but it's the fact that bourbon, will be impacted by having an international market that it will directly affect American consumers because that international dollar is not coming back to us.
Yeah. Like I say, if the listeners want to hear a really good explanation of inflation, there's an episode of this podcast called Search Engine. It's a two-parter.
Oh, okay.
And it's all about inflation, like going back to the 70s when there was that big inflation boom and how it works and things that affect it. Like I listened to it twice because
to fully understand
it. Yeah. It was excellent. Yeah. It's a great podcast.
Anyway, so moving on from like the production aspect of it and focusing more on like whether people still feel like unified over bourbon, because I think that there's also a conversation to be had about like not necessarily I don't mean to get like political about it, or sorry to get political, mates, but I think that like we talked about this in the Discord, our Discord, through the podcast, which you can only get access to if you join the Patreon. But there's an aspect of like American life and potentially like global life right now where political conversations are almost inevitable, and so I don't want to like delve too far into that, but what I do want to like take a look at is, do you feel like bourbon is still the great unifier for us? Like, are we still kind of able to put our differences aside with bourbon? Because in my experience, at least, I still feel that. Like, I'm not feeling the the effects of like, even though I disagree with a lot of people or disagree with some people, like I can still hang out and have a drink.
Yeah.
You know?
I think the short answer is yes. I think it is still the great unifier. Is that what you said? Unifier?
Yes.
Yeah. I do think it is. I think it is more of a challenge now. And I think the reason for that is because more people than ever are political. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think to know where you stand, to have beliefs, is a good thing. It's a part of who you are.
Sure.
And to be informed and to make informed decisions is positive thing. So I think now politics has become so much politics is almost pop culture. They're almost
it's team sports.
Yeah, it's team sports. It's so interwoven that I feel like much along the same lines of team sports, we all sort of get with our own tribe. And when we're with our own tribe and we know we're with people who think the same way that we do and agree with the same things that we think, you talk about it more. Then you get into a group setting where it's several different groups who have come together, and you get drinking and laughing, and you're not really your guard, but I guess you just get so comfortable that you're almost as comfortable as if you're back home with your buddies who think the same way that you do.
Exactly.
And then you say something thinking everyone here's a cool dude or a cool lady, not many person.
Yeah.
So they're going to laugh and agree with me.
Yeah.
But some of them don't.
Yeah.
So I think it's much easier because we always say, leave the politics at the door. Here, it's whiskey, it's bourbon, and that is what brings us all together. So I think it's a lot easier for call it a party foul, if we can call it that.
Sure.
A political faux pas, a statement to happen that could kind of kill the mood. Because especially now, some people are so opinionated that they can't swallow.
Can't bite their tongue out.
Yeah, they can't. They got it. And then you got yourself a little kerfuffle.
Yeah.
So I do think it is a great unifier, but it's harder than ever to keep the unity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. And like I'll give a good example, like even between like you and me. Like we agree on what I would say is 99% of things. But like during this election, like we had a disagreement on how an election should be run.
No, I don't even remember that. I thought you were going to bring up Star Wars.
I mean, we have had a very staunch disagreement on a particular Star Wars movie too, on whether or not it's actually good.
It's not.
It is.
It's not. But see, at least,
but you know what I
you
mean?
and I can,
yeah. But but in the end, it's like that. It was like whether it should have been run a certain way,
right?
Like that in the end is like largely irrelevant because it's a campaign. It's not even
at the end of the day,
it's
a person's opinion and everyone's got one. It's just become so almost personal now, and I wish it wasn't so personal.
Right. And to me, it's like meet people's needs.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that people are being taken care of. That is the most important thing, not ideas or larger party needs or ideas. That's where I come from personally. Mm-hmm. So anyway, that's whatever. It doesn't matter that much. But I think that what this is largely a discussion on is like we still want to be able to have times where we can sit down and just hang out with each other. And I miss just like when we're able to have bottle shares with people and it didn't feel like there was like all this tension or like who's going to bring it up first, you know?
Yeah, it's sort of like a Thanksgiving dinner with a family
It is.
who comes from different sides. Yeah, but it doesn't have to be. I think, we just have to concentrate more on the things that we can argue about and no one gets their feelings hurt, like movies or, which trilogy has been ruined by which company.
Now, look, I'm not saying that I by no means am I saying that the sequel trilogy is perfect, because I think it is not. Mm-hmm. I think it's actually a hot mess. I just don't think that The Last Jedi is a bad movie.
Oh, it's so bad. It's bad.
I think The Rise of Skywalker is terrible.
It's also very bad.
I think it's arguably the worst Star Wars movie.
It's almost as bad as The Last Jedi.
You think The Last Jedi is worse than Rise of Skywalker?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because of Luke's characterization.
No, not just that. There were decisions made for the fact of this is the exact opposite decision that people think would be made. Subverting expectations for the sake of subverting expectations is a terrible story or plot device.
See, I maintain that Luke's decisions in The Last Jedi are in line with a farm boy who was thrust into...
Are we going there? Are we going there?
Just briefly.
All right.
Briefly.
I got your...
Okay.
I got it.
Okay.
So this is the same Luke Skywalker who threw down his lightsaber and was willing to die as opposed to strike down and kill his father. Willing to die is the same Luke Skywalker who looked into a vision about his nephew and said he might turn to the dark side. Better kill him in his sleep. Nah, man. Don't buy it. Don't buy it. Better strike him down unarmed in his sleep because it looks like he might go to the dark side. Luke is the epitome of all positivity and looking for the light side. He's like, I believe, like, I still sense the good in you, Father.
Okay, you make a good point.
Okay,
I was not considering like the. Okay, when I'm talking about this, what I'm saying is like the internal struggle that he is going through is more in line with like I don't feel like I am the inherent hero of this story.
That part I can see.
And there is a constant struggle.
Yeah.
Right?
He always struggled.
Because he was never intended to be the chosen one, right? And that is why I always feel like there was a better characterization, or not a better, but there was a more like realized characterization of him, in the scenario of like, I don't know if I can do this.
Sure.
And like when he was faced with that, like, and like, I think I have to kill my nephew, and then being like that like, oh, I can't do this. Then he shuts himself off. It's like,
yeah, but the bridge too far was I think I have to kill my nephew in his sleep. Like the same guy who wouldn't give up on Anakin Skywalker and would rather die than kill his dad is just going to kill his nephew as he lies in his sleep.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, I can get him being like, I can't be the only Jedi. I'm not good enough to carry on.
This is where we agree on like. I don't agree with like the specifics of his actions, but as far as like the broader characterization of what they did with Luke in that movie, I think makes sense. It's just like, yeah, why did he feel like he had to go and kill Ben? Like that's crazy. But like the internal struggle, like I think it could have been handled better.
Oh, so yeah. Anyway,
but I still really enjoy that movie. I think it's I go back to it and I have fun with it.
I'm sure the audience doesn't want to hear more of this. And
We
better
did
cut it
this-
off before we start talking about
When
the
did we do
Holdo
this?
maneuver.
2018? I don't know.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Anyway, let us know what you all think about the state
Star
of
Wars.
it. Yeah, let us know what you think about Star Wars. Why not? You may as well. I'm gonna pour you a little bit of something.
Okay.
Just a teeny tiny little bit.
All right.
Because
Is that Hartfield and Co?
it is.
In a rock, Hill Rock. What is it? Hill Rock bottle?
It looks like Hill Rock.
Yeah. That's
But it's
got to be the same bottle. So Hartfield and Co. is a distillery in Paris, Kentucky, which is where I grew up, Bourbon County. Well, it's got a good nose.
It's
Is that finished?
no.
Okay.
It's sourced from Barton.
Oh, they distill their own stuff.
I know. I don't know why.
Why?
I don't know.
Oh, jeez.
Our buddies over at Bluegrass Barrel Pickers picked this. It's 9.5 years old. It's 148.8 proof,
Oh wow.
which is why I poured you an eyedropper.
Doesn't smell like it's gonna be high proof.
No.
Huh. All right. Oh. I mean, I wouldn't call it 148 proof, but yeah, I can definitely tell it's high proof.
More like 135, 136.
Yeah. I mean, I do feel it evaporating off my tongue.
Yeah.
But
Don't hold it by the cork. Yeah, okay. Because it's very loose. It's a fine bottle. It's not.
it is a fine bottle.
It's it's interesting.
Hartfield and Co. Family Reserve.
Yeah.
I got a little crest there, 1865.
He said crest. I just want to clarify. It kind of sounded like he said crust.
It's got a little crest there.
It's got a little crust on. Might be a little crust on the bottle.
God. Hazmat. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's really good. I just don't understand why a distillery who's been making their own stuff for, 2016, 2017? Like, they would almost have stuff this old if they don't already.
Maybe even earlier than that.
Yeah, maybe even.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't remember for sure.
Why their family reserve would be Barton juice. I don't know. So I don't love. I mean, I'm scratching my head on that part,
Yeah.
but it's really good.
It's not bad.
Barton.
It's not. Do you have any high proof hot takes? Anything that's been
Well, I'm sure I do, but
anything you want to dredge up for the
I don't know.
I don't really have anything either. This is it,
Well, okay, I have something. I wouldn't call it a hot take. It's just more of an opinion, but it harkens back to our discussion earlier.
okay.
So it's germane.
Okay.
I think when, and I'm not calling anyone out, obviously, but when a channel or a podcast or whoever, a content creator, latches on to an idea because they see a high return on investment, so like we make this type of content, it gets lots of views, is the death of creative. So
I would echo that.
You know, we've done episodes that have been a little bit more off the wall, like what was Chop Tails, which was just like chopped combined with cocktails.
Ooh,
we did Chop Tails for Halloween this year or last year. It was a beast to do. It was a very heavy lift, editing wise and production wise. We would have gotten more views if we'd done a short and sweet on a Buffalo Trace product.
Sure.
That would have taken me half an afternoon to edit.
Yeah.
This took me all week to edit it. Ooh. But the people who did watch it really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So it was such great feedback in the comments. Like, this is really awesome. You need to do another one. The video that we put out for Valentine's Day, the whiskey match game, that was also sort of a heavy lift. It literally came out today, so I don't have the numbers, but I'm guessing a video about alleged Greg Barrel Proof would have done.
We'll link to it in the comments.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
higher numbers. But if you give into that, that's the death of creative.
Yeah.
If we say, all right, it's going to be nothing but bourbon hunting videos from here on out, then there goes your variety. There goes the creative juices. That's the death of creativity. And I know it's a tightrope walk of more views equals more money equals feed family, whatever it is. There's that thing to think of course, but there's also your creative integrity to think about. So I understand the struggle, but if you just get dollar signs in your eyes and we're just, I know what the algorithm wants, I know what people want, I'm just going to concentrate on this. That's the death of creative. So I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but
I think it is.
That's my opinion.
I think it's in the sphere of hot takes.
I suppose.
At least.
I don't know, but yeah, it's just like I said, it's a balancing act.
Yeah. Tips and bits.
Oh, tips
This
and bits.
segment of the show where we recommend things that we've been watching, reading, listening to, playing that are usually not bourbon related.
Severance, Apple TV.
Everybody's recommending Severance. Right now.
And so few people have Apple TV.
It's very strange.
More people have Netflix, Hulu, I think even Max, and but
Amazon Prime.
Yeah. But it also seems like it's almost Game of Thrones level as far as the videos that I see where people are talking about Severance. So it's weird that everyone's talking about Severance, but so few people actually have Apple TV.
Somebody
Plus.
just, I don't know if it was Chris, I think it was Chris Stuckman just made a video about how mind-blowing episode 4 was of season 2. And I mean, I am nowhere close to getting there, but yeah, it's very next on my list.
Yeah, season 4 or episode 4, season 2 was a big departure of what their normal format is. Yeah.
We finally got around to watching English Teacher on FX.
Mm-hmm. I've watched I watched the first episode of the pilot of that.
Is incredible.
Okay.
It's so funny. There is a bit in episode 3, I think, that reminds me of a joke from Community.
Oh, Community, the best.
That just it's so off the wall for this and I'm trying, even just thinking about it right now, I'm trying not to just lose my mind over how funny and ridiculous it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so brief, and it's on screen for maybe a total of 5 seconds, and then it's done, and they never bring it up again.
Those are the best jokes.
And I'm like, this would have been something that they would have talked about over and over again on Community. And it just made me miss Community.
Yeah.
But man, it's so good. It's on Hulu. It was on FX. They've already been picked up for a second season.
Okay. Good.
But yeah,
I started.
awesome.
I started watching the Goldbergs when it first came out, and then fell off.
Oh yeah,
somewhere around maybe season 5. So I've started to go back, and I started season 5. I'm on season 6 now, and I'm like, I'm going to watch this all the way through because it's done now.
Yeah. We loved
10 seasons, so I'm gonna go and watch all the Goldbergs.
I think the last few seasons are definitely not as strong as the original.
I figured
5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
Once they, I won't.
Yeah, no spoilers.
Yeah. But it is very solid television just in general for
just
single cam sitcom.
It's just amazing how many things that happen in the show at the end of the show you find out actually happened in his actual life.
Oh yeah, it's so many.
I mean, it was just right for the picking to be a sitcom.
Yeah, I think that it was just such incredible writing to find ways to interweave it into the believable and unbelievable.
Yeah.
Too, and yeah, that just wonderful wonderful television, too. If you haven't checked out the Goldbergs, do that. You should also go check out our Patreon community at patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast for as little as $1 a month. $5 a month gets you bonus content every single week. Follow us on social media at My Bourbon Pod. Eric is at Whiskey Mutant. Chad is at It's Bourbon Night. And do you want me to say your personal one?
No, just It's Bourbon Night. That's the important
Okay,
one.
fine. That's I will not say the other one then.
I mean, you can if you want, but I don't
won't.
post very often.
I'll keep you secret. Even though you can find it if you never mind.
Yeah. If you want to, you can find it.
Yeah, you can also head to bourbonshop.threadless.com, find all of our apparel and merchandise. I do all the designs that are on there. You can send us an email if you would like to, thisismybourbonshop@gmail.com. You can also send us a voicemail or text to 859-428-8253. If you want to send us any sort of correspondence or packages, samples, bottles, letters, whatever, P.O. Box 22609, Lexington, Kentucky, 40522. And then leave us a rating and review on your podcast app of choice, and we will read it out here on the show. And that does it for this week. Hopefully Eric will be back next week. If he's not, then our guest next week will be here in my house. So we'll see about that. Chad, thank you again, buddy.
Hey, my pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's good to see you. Good to have you. Great conversation.
For sure.
Go watch It's Bourbon Night, please. You're probably already watching them if you're listening to Tim Bip. But regardless, we will see you all next time. Until then, I'm Perry.
Oh, I'm Chad. I wasn't ready for it.
And this is My Bourbon Podcast.